Welcome to Gentle Restorative. My name is Sandra. We are starting this class in Balasana, child's pose. So if you have a bolster, go ahead and grab it. Take the knees wide, slide that bolster gently in between the knees, and then come on down. Of course, you can add any other props that make you smile. If you don't have a bolster, no worries. Come straight on down to the earth. Maybe you might want a blanket for your, to make a pillow out of. Once you get here, give me a couple of deep breaths, big loud exhales. And then just kind of wiggle the hips from side to side. We're going to see if we can get the hips a little bit lower toward the heels. You might even use your hands to push the mat away. And then when you get to your next exhale, no hurries, I really want you to feel like the heart center is weighting down into either your prop or towards the floor. So we're just getting a little heavier. Another inhale through the nose. Cleansing exhale. Soften the muscles in the face. And, while we're just kind of hanging here for a moment, setting up our energy and our spirit for our practice, why don't you tap in and see what it is you need from your practice? And then we can kind of work that into each of our individual intentions. And then whichever way you have your head turned. So if you're facing the left, I want you to use your left arm. If you're facing the right, I want you to use your right arm. That arm is coming around gently behind your back. And then just draw that shoulder up towards the ceiling a little bit. Hold it there. Give me 2 deep breaths. And when you get to that third exhale, you'll release the shoulder and free the arm. Now just noticing, does the one shoulder that you move, does it feel different than the other one? And how? Give me some adjectives. All right. Hopefully that pause was long enough for you to think of a couple of words. So turn your head to the other side. Again, I want you to focus on softening the muscles in the face. Use your hands on the mat to push the mat away so we can see if the hips will release any more. And then on the first side, I asked you to think about what you need from your practice that you could work into your intention. Do you feel it's the same on this side, or do some other words kind of pop in, or would you like to change what you came up with initially? So we're just morphing these thoughts into what will be our sankalpa when we end up in a seated pose. Remember, sankalpa means intention. Okay, so whichever way you're facing now, that's the arm that I want you to take around behind your low back. And then when you're ready, gently lift that shoulder upwards and give me 2 deep breaths. On that third exhale, you'll release the arm. And then just stay present for a moment. Perfect. Give me a deep inhale. Cleansing exhale. On that next inhale, begin to slowly get your hands underneath you so you can gently push your way back up. And then I'm not going to get rid of my bolster quite yet. I'm just going to move it so I can just sit up on the edge of it. We're going to sit cross-legged. Once you get there, excuse me, once you get there, close your eyes. Inhale the arms up. Exhale to the heart. And now we have a pretty good idea of what we might want to put out to the universe in our intentions. So this is all you. Go ahead. When you're done, go ahead, release the hands, backs of the hands, resting on the knees. Sit up nice and tall, keep the eyes closed. With the eyes closed and the head staying still, lift your gaze to the third eye. So lift up the eyes to the forehead. And then back to center. Don't move the head, take the gaze down. And center. Keep the head still. Take the eyes as far as they can go to the right. And back to center, and then to the left. And back. Inhale the arms up. Interlace the fingers, reach the palms for the ceiling. Soften the shoulders. How do you know if the shoulders are softened? You might want to test them out, lift them up, and then see if they can slide back down, and then that's where you want to hold them. Pull the stomach in, little side bend to the right, take the gaze up. Inhale, center. Exhale to the left, gaze upwards. Back to center and release the arms. We're going to work the shoulders out a little bit, so roll them up and back a few times. You can switch directions if you want, if that makes you happy. Perfect. All right, from here, let's slip on off of the bolster that we're sitting on. Bring it around in front of you. And then I'm guessing we might want some other props here up on top. So whatever you have nearby. I want you to remember which leg you have crossed in front. Keep that in your head. And then sit up tall, hinge forward, forehead to your props. And so once you get here, you can decide, check in with the back. Would you rather be up higher? Would you rather be lower? It's totally up to you. So our theme is based around a Sufi story called Different Every Time. And before I even tell you the story, let me ask you this. Have you ever had, I don't know, a quandary, and you're seeking the answer, and so you go and you ask friend A, you give them all the facts, right? And friend A gives you answer A, and you go to friend B and you give them the same facts, and friend B gives you answer B, and then you go to friend C and do the same thing, right? And you're kind of thinking, why would each friend not give me the same answer? They all have the same facts, right? Why is that? Why would there be more than one answer? So before I tell you the story, I want you to focus on the physical body. Where are you feeling this, if anywhere? Can you relax the hips a little bit more? Can you let the low back breathe? Can you take the breath into the belly? I shouldn't say can. I know you can. Will you please? Will you take your breath forward into the belly? And then I want you to allow the breath to be kind of all-encompassing. So as you inhale, feel it all the way from the root chakra and then all the way up through the shoulders, so the torso. Inhaling into the torso, feel it expand three-dimensionally. Exhale, it's like you're bringing that energy back in Sanskrit, that's samana. So bringing that all back into center. Give me 3 more focused breaths and then let it go. And then when you're ready, gently push your way back up. Let's go ahead and open out the feet, probably to the width of your bolster, knees bent. Let's just give the legs and the knees a break for a moment. We'll find our seated cat-cow right here. So hands in front of the knees. Inhale, sit up tall. Exhale, round it out. Keep going. So our story is about a truth seeker, a very perplexed truth seeker, who finds the Sufi master and asks him, listen, I'm really confused. Oops, sorry for the dogs upstairs. How is it every time I ask a Sufi master a question, I get a different answer, a different piece of advice? And so the master says, well, why don't you come with me for a walk? And we'll see if we can discover what's going on with this mystery. All right, next time you're all the way up, let's become cross-legged again. Other leg in front. When you're ready, sit up tall, come down into your fold, and listen to your body. the hips could be different. One might be okay going low, one might not. So if you need to change up your beautiful tower of props, you should absolutely take time to do so. So the Sufi master and the truth seeker head off for a walk, and they go to the marketplace. And the Sufi asked one of the grocers, "Could you tell me what time of prayer it is?" And the grocer said, "Well, it's time for morning prayer." And so they kept walking. And after some time, the Sufi master, he asked a tailor, "Sir, can you tell me what prayer time it is?" And the tailor answered, "It's time for the midday prayer." And after spending more time in conversation and walking along with the truth seeker, the Sufi approached another man. This time it was a bookbinder. And he said, "Sir, can you tell me what time of prayer it is?" And so the man said, "Well, it's now time for afternoon prayer." And so the Sufi turned to his friend and he said, do you want to go on? Do you want to continue with this experiment? Or are you satisfied now that virtually the same question can elicit almost totally different answers, all of them corresponding to the current truth? Right? So same question. What time of prayer is it, for the day? 3 different answers. Well, logically, we understand why there are 3 different answers, right? Because as they continued to walk, morning changed to noon, and noon changed to, late afternoon. And if they'd kept going, it would have changed to early evening, and so on and so on. And so, does it make sense to you that whatever quandary you might be having, whatever puzzling issue going on, that depending on your circumstances, depending on your mood, depending on your energy, that the answers might change? Does it also make sense that depending on your circumstances, your energy, and your mood, the way you receive the answer might change? All right, we'll talk more about that, but first I want you to slowly push your way back up. Let's go ahead and move that bolster out of the way. Come on over into table. And, move this out however you need to. So it's could be cat-cow, it could be a circular cat-cow, it could be just the hips need to loosen up, whatever you feel like. It could be pushing back towards child's pose. Get creative. Now stop. Freeze. If I ask you 2 hours from now to come down on hands and knees and move however your body wants to, do you think you're going to move in exactly the same way you just did? Well, no, right? This goes with the theme, right? You're already following me on this because your circumstances will have changed. Something will have happened. What if for the next 2 hours you were just sitting on the couch watching, I don't know, football or your favorite show, and now you're stiff? Do you think you might be moving a little differently? So, yes, we can ask the same questions but come up with different answers. We're going to delve more into that. Tuck the toes, take it to downward facing dog, walk it out. And then when you're ready, let's get that right foot to step forward. I don't know about you, but I just feel like I need to stretch before we get super restorative. So let's find our low lunge. That right foot's forward. I'm going to set the back leg down. Remember, as always, if you cannot get the front ankle underneath the knee, grab your props and come on up a little higher. It'll be easier to get there. Frankly, you can use your props anyway because it is more compassionate. And let's just move around a little bit. And then we can trade off here by pulling the hips back and coming onto the heel of that front foot. Inhale, take the hips forward, set that foot down. So back to your lunge, lift the heart. And then as you exhale, this time as you pull the hips back, keep the foot glued to the earth. Inhale, hips forward, lift the heart. Exhale, hips back. Come onto the heel of that front foot. Take it forward, lift the heart. We're only doing this one more time. Keep the foot glued this time as you pull the hips back. And then come to kind of a neutral space in between so you can easily find table. Close your eyes and just notice how the legs feel different, where they feel different. We're going to shift the weight into that left knee. Stretch the right leg straight out behind you, parallel to the earth. Left arm forward in cat balance if you want to. Draw the stomach upwards. And then resettle. Tuck the toes. Downward facing dog. When you're ready, left foot stepping forward for that low lunge. So we'll set the back leg down. Again, use your props if you need to. And let's just find some movement here. All right, when you're ready, gently pull the hips back. Come onto the heel of that front foot. Inhale, back to low lunge. Float the heart up. Exhale, pull the hips back. Keep the foot glued to the earth. Inhale, back to low lunge. Exhale, pull the hips back. Come onto the heel. Inhale, low lunge. Last one. Exhale, pull the hips back. Keep the sole of the foot on the earth. And then find that neutral space that makes it easy for you to get back to table. And close your eyes. We're going to send that left leg straight out behind us. Perhaps you add the right arm for cat balance. Pull the stomach in. And exhale. Go ahead and release. All right, just sit back down for a second so we can get everything we need. We are going to find the strap. If you don't have a strap, not necessary for what we're doing anyway. I just like to make it more confusing. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead, put a loop in the strap. All right. Let's take the blanket. It's going to go behind you for either a pillow or get it into a neck roll. I kind of prefer neck roll, so that's where I'm headed. We'll need our 2 blocks. So if you do not have any blocks, but you have a bolster, perfect, we'll use that. If you don't have any props, can you look around and just see if there's anything in which to elevate your hips? If you have nothing, but you had a blanket, take that blanket from where we just put it. We're going to use that underneath the sacrum, or if you have a blanket or pillow lying around within sight, go ahead and grab that. If you truly, truly, truly have nothing, I'm not worried about it. So I just popped my legs there through the loop. I want to tighten around the thighs, and once we get situated, you can tighten that more if you want to. I've got 1 block that my feet will end up on, and then grab the other block and go ahead and lay back. So make sure you're comfy if you're using that blanket for a pillow. Then go ahead and straighten out the legs. Just kind of see if you like where the block ended up. I kind of don't. I want it lower, so I'm going to push that away from me. And right here, I feel like my strap is too loose. So now I'm going to fix that. So you might draw the knees in, give that a little tightening. Okay, perfect. Now, replant the feet on the mat so we can lift the hips up and slide whatever prop is left over underneath the sacrum. From there, I'm now going to extend my legs so they're resting on that other block, or my feet. So you can totally, move the props around as you need, or, debating. That's not what I meant to say. Depending on what you have handy. If you don't like the heels on the block because it kind of puts pressure on the knees a little bit to sink downwards, slide that block up. You can get that more underneath the knees if you want. So play with this pose and get comfortable. So while you're here, we're going to talk a little bit about oracle cards, tarot cards, either way. Why do you suppose, if you had a deck of tarot cards or oracle cards in front of you, if you were to ask the same question 5 times in a row, you might get 5 different cards? Yes, I get there's a mathematical issue there, but I'm just saying, wouldn't you think if you asked a question and drew a card, and then asked the exact same question again, that either technically you should receive the same answer or something extremely close to it? What if you didn't ask it 5 times in a row? What if you asked once when you woke up, and then you asked before you had lunch, and then you asked a few hours after lunch, and then you asked as we headed off into late afternoon, and then evening, and then before you went to bed? So we spread out the questions over the course of your wakeful day. Would you still expect that you should have the same answer, because it's frankly the same question, right? So let's put a little vision in your head here for a moment. Let's imagine that you walk outside and you decide it's a beautiful day and you're going to hop on your bike. And if you don't have a bike, you do now because it's in your head. And so you get on your bike and you just start leisurely pedaling and you're headed out of your subdivision. The subdivision and what you're seeing is not really all that exciting. You've seen it before. Perhaps you aren't even focused on it. You might actually get to the other end of your subdivision and not have noticed how you got there. But as you start riding out of the area you're comfortable with and you start choosing new paths to go on, things change quickly and you see things you haven't seen before, and you're noticing new details. And perhaps even you might notice that your mood has changed. Perhaps there's some added adventure and excitement. You, at some points on this path, might decide to speed up the pedaling, and then you'll notice the wind is just whizzing past you and the scenery's whipping past you. And then there's other times where you feel like you want to go really slow so you can catch everything, right? And then you go back home. And that whole time you were on the same bike and we didn't stop for anything. So what changed along that adventure are your circumstances, your mood, your energy. What if you were on that bike path and you're whipping along and a cat darted out in front of you? I was going to say car, but let's go with cat. It seems a little less risky. Cat darts out in front of you and you slam on your bike brakes and maybe you skid to a halt and you're a little freaked out and you're a little shaken. So how does that change your energy and your mood? Especially if we were to ask your question at that moment in time versus when you were peacefully sauntering along this path, sights unexplored, new pond to the right, geese to the left, right? So are you starting to see how everything changes for us moment to moment? And so you can ask that question as many times as you want to during a given day. But your reaction to the answer and your receptivity to that answer are also going to change. All right, let me give you a different visualization. I want you to see yourself seated in your house somewhere in front of a window. Really comfortable chair. And if you're thinking you don't have a really comfortable chair, guess what? You get to make one up right now. It is the best chair ever. And staring out the window, it appears that nothing is moving. We are in a static situation. So we're different, right, from the bike. We're not moving anywhere and expecting to see something different. We're sitting in one spot and everything looks the same. Okay. Well, let's say that you have a sleeping dog at your feet who appears to be quite as content as you are. And then the doorbell rings. So if your dog in your imagination is anything like one of my dogs, that dog is immediately at the front door barking her head off. And now my energy has been shifted. The vibration has changed, right? So might have scared the crap out of you. You might feel a little annoyed. You might feel disturbed, like I don't want to get up and get the door. And so do you see how just in that one moment we've shifted so much that if friend A were to give you the right answer to your question, you might not be in a place to hear it. In fact, you might be still so focused on the door and the dog, you never heard friend A's answer. Moments prior, friend A's answer might have been exactly what you needed to hear. And you were like, yes, I can do that. I'm ready for that. And you move forward and something else changes, right? It's kind of like, we could take the analogy of this yoga pose you're in. Okay, so is it the most comfortable restorative position you've ever been in? I'm going to say probably not. I mean, the blocks are the blocks. The blocks are not going to change. You could change them, right? You could put something super soft and fuzzy and padded on them to make them not such a hard, solid structure to lie upon. You know, maybe you don't really like being upside down. You don't like the back bend. So you right now might not be completely receptive to whatever answer you need to hear just because of the pose that I've asked you to be in. All right, well, let's change this up. So go ahead and wiggle your feet back to the mat. Slowly lift the hips. Let's slide that prop out that was holding up your sacrum, and then go ahead and hug the knees in. Rock it out a little bit. This is probably already better. Not that the first one was bad, I'm just saying it's better. And then while I have my legs here, I think this would be a great time to just slide my strap off of my feet, set it aside. And then go ahead and just stretch out your legs. Keep that other block out of your way. Relax the arms and close your eyes. And so now, while you're probably thinking, are we heading into Shavasana? You're in a very receptive state for that answer to kind of sink in and you formulate how that helps you and how you move forward, right? But then in the next second, when I say no, you are not in Shavasana. You still have about 20 minutes to go. Ooh, what does that do to your energy? Sorry. right? Does that all make sense? I hope. I'm just visualizing you guys nodding and going, yes, that makes sense. Or no, you're crazy. Why do we listen to you? It's all good. All right, draw that right knee in. Stretch that leg up to the ceiling. Use your hands or your strap that you just set nearby. We won't be here long though, so that might change how you feel about the strap. And then we're going to rebend and take our supine twist to the left. Take it slow, add any props you want, and let's take that right arm into scarecrow. So I think that the Sufi story is really interesting when you think about it in terms of oracle cards. Let's say that you invited me over to read oracle cards for you. And it's a beautiful day, and there's sun streaming in your window, and we're sitting at your kitchen table, and it's warm, it's toasty, it's inviting. And we go ahead and we sit down, and you are in the best mood ever. You've been looking forward to this. You feel totally receptive to it. No matter what the cards are going to say, you're okay with it. And then let's go back to the dog. Let's say your dog now wants to go out. And so you say, can you hold on a second to me? And you get up and you go let the dog out, and you're waiting by the door. And again, if yours are anything like mine, yours is doing laps around the yard and then jumps all the steps to the deck. And let's just say the dog injures its paw. You let it in, and now you're freaked out. I get freaked out when my dog injures its paw. Too many broken legs and stuff in our house. So now you're upset, and you're feeling the dog's leg and making sure it's okay, and your energy has shifted. How can it not? Right? Even when you decide that the dog is fine and you come back to the table, something has changed. Perhaps your mind is still on the dog. Perhaps you're feeling the heartbeat, is heightened, the breath is a little quicker, something has shifted. And so now the cards that you were ready to receive, no matter what they said to you, might not feel the same way. In fact, one that I flipped that perhaps might be asking you to go outside of your comfort zone, you might be instantly shut down to. So as I was thinking about this Sufi story and the oracle cards, I thought, well, the next question then to kind of take apart, and let me get you out of this twist first. Let's take it to the other side. So let's go ahead and come back to center. Realign the hips, stretch that right leg out. When you're ready, hug the left knee in. We're sending that leg up to the ceiling. When you feel ready, hug that knee back in, take your supine twist to the right, left arm in scarecrow. Make this pose what you need it to be. So this is what then I started thinking about. So often I will draw oracle cards for all of you, right? And I set my intention that I'm going to draw the card that is going to provide you with the most meaning, depending on your circumstances. And I guess I just answered the question I was leading up to. Why do you suppose my intention in drawing one card for all of you as a collective group has meaning for each one of you in totally different ways? Well, we're all in a different circumstance, a different energy, a different mood, a different mental place, a different physical place. And so that is why the card works. Does that make sense? Which will lead me up to, yes, I am going to draw one card for all of you when I get you in your next restorative pose. And so this idea of constant change from moment to moment, let me give you another analogy. So if you like to, let's say, redecorate your house, or you like to paint your house, have you ever noticed how you think initially you are changing up the living room? You're going to redecorate the living room, or you're moving things around, or you've decided to repaint it. What happens next? All of a sudden, the room right next to the living room, it doesn't look so good anymore, does it? So the one change triggers another, because now I got to go into that second room. And here I go. I'm changing that paint color. I'm moving things around. I'm going to get rid of this furniture. I'm going to purchase this furniture. I sit back and, oh, darn, the kitchen looks really bad, right? So something triggers consecutive changes. That happens to us every day. We have no idea it's happening. Let's say you are heading out the door. You have to go somewhere, but where are my car keys? Now you come back in, and for some of us, it might take 1 minute. For others, it could take 20. What do you suppose might be different in those 20 minutes that you didn't leave the house? I don't know. Maybe you avoided an accident. Maybe you decided to reroute and take a different road. We don't know. We can only speculate. But you not knowing where your keys were is the event that triggered a bunch of other changes. Hopefully good changes, right? All right, let's go ahead and bring that knee back to center, realign the hips, stretch the leg out, relax the arms for a moment. Again, you might think you're in Shavasana, but I'm going to tell you you're not quite there yet. But don't worry, last time I said that it was 20 minutes and now it's 10, so we're getting there. Deep breath in. Loud exhale. All right. So where you're at, I'm just going to have you roll over onto your stomach. I'm guessing that turns you away from your screen. Do not worry. You do not have to see me. I will try to be as clear as I can. Well, I guess you could leave your blanket if you want to. Let's see how that works. So you're on your stomach. Go ahead and just bring the left ear down to your blanket. I'm not totally sure myself if I like that. I might want to come down to the floor. We'll see. And then just go ahead and straighten through the legs. So tighten up the muscles a little bit. I haven't done anything with them. I haven't lifted them off the ground. I've just tightened them up. And then relax the legs. Let's turn the head to the other side. Same thing. Once you get there, tighten up the legs. And then go ahead, relax. Bring the head to center. I am really not liking the blanket here for this, so I'm going to ask you guys to move yours as well. Bring the forehead down to the mat. Okay. The right hand is going to rest on your right sacrum, near the glute, inside of the hip area. Just rest your hand right there. That's so you can feel the muscles activate. Okay, push the pelvic bone down a little bit, and then straighten through the legs and just lift the right leg, just the right leg. We're breathing. On an exhale, lower the right leg, relax. You can feel the muscles relax underneath your right hand. Reactivate. Inhale, lift that leg just a couple inches. Exhale it down, relax. Give me 3 more. And when you finish that last one, release the right arm, switch it up. Left hand's going to reach back to rest on the left side of the sacrum, glute. And then go ahead and Lift that left leg. Exhale it down. Let the muscles melt. 4 more. When you're done, relax the entire body. You can turn your head to a side if you prefer. Breathe into the low back. And then let's get the hands to slide back by the low ribs. I know you're facing the opposite way. It's okay. Push up into table. And now you can just sit down and turn back around. We're just looking for props here. So I'm going to slide my blanket back over. We need the bolster. Okay, so blanket, pillow. Bolster is going under the knees. We're going to tip it on its edge. But before you do that, you can get your feet over if that's easier. I want you to get your blocks and then put them at their lowest height out in front of that bolster so that perhaps your heels then will have something to rest on. They're not just hanging in midair. Or maybe that's just because I'm super short. I don't know. Go ahead and lay back when you're ready. There we go. Oops. Close your eyes. Let's bring the palms above us and rub them out. Get some nice warmth created there. That just feels good in itself. It's a little chilly in my basement. My fingers were cold. When you're ready, go ahead and cup the hands over your closed eyes. So with all of our circumstances being different, with all of our energies being different right now, our moods, our vibrations, I'm pretty darn certain all of our questions for the Oracle card deck are different. Can you go ahead and formulate your question for me right now? I mean, will you? Not can you. Will you please? Thank you, universe, for the card giving me an answer pertaining ... And then once you've put that question out there, go ahead, relax the hands. You can keep your eyes closed, or if you want to make sure I'm being honest here and not just pulling a card that I've stacked here, I am going to shuffle the deck. So you can make sure if you don't trust me, or you can just relax and keep your eyes closed and figure, what does it matter if I pull a card I've pre-planned, because it's going to mean something to the question anyway, right? Which is not what I did. I am legitimately shuffling the deck. In fact, I'm not even going to draw the top card. I'm going to spread these cards out in front of me. Make sure you've got your question posed. Well, there's one card that caught my eye immediately. It's this one. So that's the one I'm going to slide out. Oh, that's a good card. So the card I drew for every one of you pertaining your question is, actually come closer so you also don't think I'm cheating. It's just breathe. Let's see if you can see that. Just breathe. I'll edit that in so you can see it better. Okay, so what that immediately tells me is whatever we all asked, we need to calm down a little bit, right? We need to calm down. We need to let go. We need to trust. So the picture that I'm looking at has a woman. She looks like she's standing in clouds because you can only see her from her knees up. She has her right hand palm facing out, and her palm appears to be touching the hand of kind of a mirror image of her, but more spiritual, right? It's not actually, it's more the outline of her. It's possible it's not her, but I like to think that it is, because this goes back to we all have our own answers. And so it's reaching out to her higher self in an effort to tap into what that answer actually is. The other interesting thing about this card that you can't see, but again, I said I'll edit it in later, the dress she's wearing, in the colors behind her, there's a lot of chakra colors here. There's also a lot of white, and the card edges are in blue. Blue is the throat chakras. So is there something that we could communicate better about this issue we asked about? Could we ask for help? Could we be more receptive to help? So think on all terms of communication as far as speech, listening, being validated. That's mainly what I am pulling from viewing this card. So let's do it. Let's just breathe. Take your focus to your breath. Let there be nothing else going on right now in your world, your mind, besides the breath. It's just the breath. It is every inhale and it's every exhale. And while the breath does not need you to regulate it, right? It's there all the time on its own. I do want you to give some interpretation to the breath. So remember, I asked you what you needed from your practice. Inhale what you needed. Use the exhales to let go. I want you to notice as you focus on your breath how you're feeling, physically, mentally, spiritually. Let's add emotionally too. And how does it feel when you focus on your breath and only your breath? I want you to slow the breath down. As you slow your breath down, you notice you feel more peaceful, more relaxed. And so now as you focus on your breath and you're feeling peaceful and relaxed and calm and happy, and you know Shavasana has to be right around the corner, do you notice how just changing that one thing, focusing on the breath, impacted everything else? So quoting from the butterfly effect, change one thing, change everything. So let's use that quote and associate it with the pose you're in right now. Are you happy here? Do you want to stay exactly as you are for Shavasana? Or would you rather rearrange your props to how you normally have them or how you think you would like them today? And if so, I'm telling you right now to go ahead and do that. Because frankly, if you're not completely comfortable, you change that one thing, you change the pose, you move the blanket, you move the bolster, whatever it is. It changes everything else, right? Because your mind is not focused on the one thing about the pose that I chose for you that you don't like. So hopefully by now, You are in your most comfortable position for Shavasana. You're ready for me to stop talking your ear off, and you are ready to focus on what? Yes, just breathing. I will come back and get you. begin speaking to you now, I change everything, because the one thing I changed was the silence. And so thinking about what you can do to change everything, I ask you to focus on your breath and start to deepen that breath, allowing the breath to reawaken the body. So you might decide to add some movement. You might decide to stretch. You might decide to stay still. And when you feel like you're ready, let's go ahead and roll over onto one side or the other. And then listening to the oracle card to just breathe, I want you to take a deep inhale, hold the breath, and now let it go. And keeping your eyes closed, will you slowly push your way back up into any seated pose? Give me another really strong breath through the nose. Super loud exhale. And then inhale both arms all the way up. The palms will find each other on their own. Exhale them back home to your heart in prayer pose. The light in me bows to the light in you. And when I'm in that place in me, and you're in that place in you, then we become one. Namaste.